But anyways, let's move into our final topic. The Summer League is currently going on. I think, what team won it? I think it was Orlando won Orlando? Some team won Orlando. I don't know. The Orlando Summer League's over.
It's over.
But that's not the one we're talking about. We're talking about the Utah Summer League, and specifically Boston and Jayson Tatum, because made huge news, hitting the buzzer beater in the first game that the Celtics played over Markelle Fultz and the 76ers.
That was a great game.
Yeah, and JT had a fantastic game himself, 47% from the field, only 1 for 5 from 3, but although it was 4 for 5 from the line, grabbed 7 boards, pulled down 3 assists, only had one turnover, had 5 steals, put up 21 points, and obviously had the game winner, looking super smooth, looking like Paul Pierce out there with his jumper. He looked nasty. And then you look at that San Antonio game that he had, 23 points, 10 of 18 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 2 of 2 from the line, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. I mean, Jayson Tatum has been everywhere so far. They're currently playing a game in Utah right now, so we really don't have those stats going on. So at least disregard the Utah game for right now. But looking at what you've seen so far out of Jayson Tatum, he's looked ridiculous, to put it clearly. But we've seen this last year.
Well, and I mean, with the Utah game, I have him pulled up. 5 points are 6 points right now, and 40%.
Well, I just don't want to say, because we're not watching it right now. I don't want to say what's his performance been like, because we're just looking at his stats. I mean, obviously we've seen the San Antonio game, we saw the Philadelphia game. Jayson Tatum has looked fantastic, and I don't want to get too much into it saying
take it with a grain of salt.
That's what I want to say, because we saw Bobby Portis have a ridiculous year last year. Chris Dunn have a ridiculous last year.
Not saying Valentine looked like a straight-up killer in Summer League.
Not saying,
and then he played with the men.
Again, not saying that Jayson Tatum's going to be bad or anything. No. He's gonna fall off, but don't expect this right away. But when you're looking at Jayson Tatum now in this Summer League, what has impressed you? What are you looking at coming out of this? Is he something that these Celtics fans are really, or should be expecting with the 3rd overall pick from this year's draft? The
thing that I'm thinking of based off of it, I know how we said grain of salt, because obviously like LeBron and them aren't playing in the Summer League. But I look at his performance.
He's also not playing LeBron all 82 games.
I know, but I'm just saying, like those players, like the veterans,
the
aren't
top
playing.
tier,
The stars are not playing in the Summer League.
Are you saying that Donovan Mitchell is not a star? That James Sutherland is not a star?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But my point is...
Nigel Williams-Goss isn't a star.
My point is, he's a star. But the thing that I'm getting at is, remember with the draft when it was like Danny Ainge was like, he was the #1 on our board and we were always going to take him.
Yep.
And everyone was like, really? He was the #1 on your board? Like, you had Markelle, we had Josh Jackson. I'm looking at JT right now, and I'm like, maybe Danny Ainge knew something. Maybe he knew something liking Jayson Tatum and knowing how he would fit with his team. With his team?
With his team?
Yeah.
This is his Summer League team and not his actual team.
Well, I mean, it's
the fact that they will have 5 wings, 6 wings, 7 wings, 8 wings.
And Isaiah Thomas.
A similar team that's currently trotting out Scoochie Smith, Pierre Buford, Trevor Thompson, Scott Wood. Everyone remembers Scott Wood. Demetrius Jackson didn't even play.
D-Jax looked awful.
I mean, he didn't even play in the San Antonio game.
My point is maybe Danny Ainge knew. Maybe Danny Ainge's hunch wasn't all that.
I mean,
crazy.
It's not like Jayson Tatum. We said Jayson Tatum was going to be a bum.
Yeah, but
it's not like it was out of nowhere.
It's not like we were trashing him like Jaylen Brown last year.
But when someone says #1 on the board, when Markelle and Josh Jackson were there.
Okay, did Indiana also turn down 3 future first-round picks? No, they fucking didn't.
Thank you.
No. Danny Ainge is going to put the positive spin on everything. Markelle Fultz is probably his #1 on the board, but it's also like, well, Jayson Tatum was really good. So let's say he was #1 on the board because, then we'll look smart if something happens.
That's what we picked.
And also it just looks positive because then you're not going to...
We're saying we believed in this guy the whole time. This was the master plan. We knew what we were doing.
Exactly. You're not going to go out and be like, yeah, we settled for Jayson Tatum.
Exactly. It's like you don't do that to your top pick in the draft.
Let's trash him.
I think the scouting report was spot on him.
Phil Jackson.
I think the scouting report was spot on for this guy. We talked about his polished shooting stroke, which is there. Like, the guy is already able to shoot at the NBA level. There's very little transition with that. His passes, I think, are a little lazy right now, but this is me critiquing at this point. Like, he's already really, really at the top end of Summer League performances, just from the couple of games he's played, the 3 by the end of this.
Yeah.
But, like, what I see out of him is exactly what we talked about in the scouting reports, and it's exactly what you want to see as a Boston Celtics fan, because you're seeing first off, I know we're not talking about him, but Jaylen Brown went out and was a man amongst boys in that first game and just dominated them with his physicality.
I hope he is, because it's his second year in the league.
And that's fair. But Jayson Tatum going out there and being able to, pull up the clutch shot, but also just be a good shooter for them and continue the ball movement. Again, I love this, and I think it's fantastic. It's just the question of, all right, so how much playing time? Like, we're seeing this out of him now, and that's on solid minutes. Now, when we get to the regular season and you're only going to be coming in for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you're going to work your way up there. Like, are we going to be able to see like him be like a microwave off that bench and be able to start the offense again?
Well, that's what I want to get to, is what to expect from Jayson Tatum, because we should expect a sweet stroke. You should expect a score from this kid, but should we be expecting more? And what really should we be expecting from that sweet strokes, from that score? Should we be expecting like 10 off the bench, or 8 off the bench, depending on how many minutes does he play? I mean, what are we expecting a leader of the second unit offensively, or is that going to fall to Marcus Smart just because he's been there longer? What are you looking at with Jayson Tatum to take from the Summer League into next year to help the Boston Celtics move closer to the Cavaliers, possibly jumping the Cavaliers, because they're going to need everyone to help do that, Jayson Tatum included?
Well, the thing that I look at is if you're expecting him to come off, and I know we talk about the smooth stroke that he has, but don't expect him to come in and be like, man, he's going to be shooting it from the outside. He's a guy that he's going to shoot it from mid-range, or he's going to drive in offensively. And the thing that I think he works perfectly with Boston, I can't wait for when he does come off the bench, and this is, we talk about, how well did Isaiah and Al Horford work in the pick and roll? I think he can just be added into that, working him off the pick and roll to get him wide open mid-range shots. And if he's silky smooth off the bench, those can just go in. Much like what you said, you compare him to Paul Pierce. This is a Boston fan base that is used to seeing that elbow extended being owned by their small forward in the truth.
And looking at all of this, Dave, I mean, looking at Jayson Tatum, I mean, you talked a little bit about him being a point forward. Have you seen any flashes of that? I mean, you talked about, not his passes not being super
they're
crisp.
a little lazy, and to be honest,
he averaged only 2 assists in college, so I'm not like looking for, man, Jayson Tatum's going to be the best passer.
I know he's not a pure point forward in our regards. I'm not calling him Ben Simmons or something like that line. It's just the fact that, like, when you throw the ball across court and without any velocity, it's kind of lazy on your part. And you're right, it was only a couple times. And the other thing I want to say is, like, he's not your pure point forward, but I still think he is that number one scoring option off the bench, assuming that we do go with the lineup that we talked about earlier in this podcast, with him being obviously the rookie, but at the same time, if Marcus Smart is your point guard, you want to move the ball through someone who has actually got a comfortable stroke from the outside, and that's Jayson Tatum.
Well, and looking at what you've seen and just what you know from his scouting report, do you want him bringing the ball up, or do you want him, taking it on the wing and then being an ISO, or do you want him coming off screens? I mean, he's versatile. I mean, obviously we talk about that stroke, we talk about his shooting. What do you think he works best in? What sets do you think he works best in? And do you think that if he can't be that point forward right away, what sets would he usually work best in? I mean, are they going to take Isaiah's sets and just kind of run them with Jayson Tatum sets? I mean, are they going to put them like that?
Not. Yeah, no, I don't see them running. Like, honestly, the offense is different when Isaiah's on the court to when he's off the court. Obviously, if he's on there, ball's in his hand 99% of the time, and it's going through him or Horford to get to the hoop. One or the other is going to be either the scorer or the distributor, and that was how they ran last year. This year, I think with Hayward in there, it's going to be a little bit different, but that's why, like, because you added Hayward, you're going to see, like, barely any time where you're going to have all three of those guys off the court at the same time. I see it sparing minutes. I think with Marcus Smart, if he is your man with the ball in his hands, like for that second unit, and they don't have one of those three guys in, I think it's probably going to be a default dump off to Tatum and let him work with the ball. He does seem comfortable working with ball in his hands. I think off ball, he's okay, but there's definitely a lot of room to improve there. So for me, you don't really have to run crazy sets for him. You can let him have the ball in his hands and play a little bit of ISO, let him work with it. Obviously, like you said, he's not a true point forward yet at this point, so like he's not going to run your offense. He's not going to be able to run the sets. And as a rookie, I wouldn't trust him to do that anyway.
I would the thing that I'm maybe leaning towards is, like, if okay, we're taking Isaiah off, leaving Hayward out there, so that Hayward could be the veteran presence too. Him and Smart could be like, okay, we're going to run the sets. JT, you work off of screens. You work off ball to get those open shots so that we can pass it to you and you can just shoot and hit the shot.
It's entirely possible. It's 50-50 for me. Like I think you want Isaiah on the floor with him. I think Horford isn't bad, or not Horford. Yeah, Horford's not bad because he has great passing skills for a big. But again, he's not the one creating. You need someone out there who can create with the ball in their hands, in my mind. So I'd really prefer to see Isaiah running with him. And obviously that's when Hayward's out, and you can run like Jalen at the 2 and JT at the 3. I think that's a sick lineup.
Would you also possibly be inclined to put Avery Bradley at that 2 as well, just because he can be that outside shooter, and then he could also help the defense because Jayson Tatum isn't known as a lockdown defender?
You can. I think the biggest trade-off is like Isaiah's bench time is going to come with Hayward on the floor. That's my opinion. I think that they're going to transition between the 2 of those guys to make sure their times line up right. Because obviously the starting unit's strong on its own because you have 3 all-stars. But when you have Isaiah off the floor, we watched them struggle a little bit last year with this. The team without Isaiah is running different sets, and they aren't able to execute nearly at the same level. Obviously, Bradley stepped up huge for them in the playoffs, and so did Horford. But at the same time, with Marcus Smart running point, I'm not as comfortable out there. So if you let Hayward take over being basically running point for you when Isaiah's off the court, super comfortable. We watched him transition more and more last year into being a ball-dominant player. So I'm very comfortable with that. The other thing that I don't want to over-exaggerate because it's Summer League is the rebounding of Tatum.
He's not going to grab 10 rebounds again.
And that's the thing.
There's no way in hell.
Like, I understand that because Summer League is full of a bunch of kids trying to make their name, and they're chucking the ball a lot. So
he's also the most athletic and biggest out there on the floor.
He did average 7.3
It's
in
college, dude.
What? I know it's college, but if he can add something in that game or that part of the floor,
if he's pulling down 5,
maybe then we're saying what I said in the Hayward segment isn't as big as a deal because they have JT to grab some boards.
Yeah, because you know what's going to stop Robin Lopez from grabbing 7 offensive boards a playoff game is Jayson Tatum. I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, he can develop into a good rebounder, but right now he's not going to solve the Boston Celtics rebounding problem. We're looking down low for that.
Dude, we're putting it all on the 19-year-old shoulders, man.
Yeah. And the other thing I forgot, like, when I was watching these games, I forgot about Semi, and I was like, oh, man.
He looks good.
I'd say, like, between him and
so far in
JT
so far in this Utah Summer League game, he's doing the best out of any of the.
I like it.
Out of any of the
I
Celtics
hate it
right
because like the Celtics fans are slightly obnoxious. You know, I'm gonna give you credit for that. But you do have
credit for being obnoxious.
you are,
because people love that.
They do. Look, they have a reason to be happy. They have a GM in Danny Ainge who has landed Hayward for them. Obviously, they didn't get Paul George or Jimmy Butler, but at the same time, they've got a ton of young assets and guys around them to continue draft picks in the future. So it's like JT, obviously, Summer League, I don't want to overhype his performance, but he looks sharp out there. And we've seen guys who failed in Summer League and come out great. So I hope this isn't the opposite case.
I'll give you some credit right now. Jayson Tatum, 15 minutes. He's got 6 boards. Zizek only has 4 right now. So
yeah.
I think you could probably play
long rebounds.
You could probably play Jayson Tatum as your 5, I think. Anyways,
long rebounds.
Quickly going to wrap this up because I don't want to go too long, and this isn't really Celtics focused or Jayson Tatum focused, but this is Summer League focused. You guys haven't talked about the Bulls in a while, so I'm going to read.
There's a reason.
I'm going to read you off the Summer League lineup. Here we go.
Do we have to do this?
It's starting July 7th through the 17th.
Do we have to
featuring
do this?
24 teams competing in 67-game schedule from July 7th through 17th at Cox Pavilion and Thomas Mack Center on the campuses of University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Let's get into the Bulls Summer League lineup.
Can we not do this?
Ryan Arcidiacono.
So Jayson Tatum, right?
Ryan Arcidiacono. He's on that list. Paul Zipser, your boy.
Yeah.
Cameron Payne's out there. Lauri Markkanen. You got Chris Dunn.
Yep.
You got Denzel Valentine. You got Nikola Janovic. I mean,
Dude, we're gonna win the Summer League. Like
you won it last year.
Yeah, we're gonna win the Summer League and then not play too well in the season.
Looking at these players, though.
Hashtag trade Wade.
What do you?
He's got a point. Wade and Rolo is better be gone.
What are you looking for in the Summer League from the Bulls, at least? Because
a championship.
Okay, quit being a jackass.
Because that's all I'm
looking for.
Any
Bulls. Sign of progression out of Chris Dunn.
You see these 6 rings?
I mean, wouldn't you want him to struggle in the Summer League?
No.
Just because he did so well last year, so maybe he needs to suck in the Summer League?
No.
Because if you can't look good as a second-year player, you don't deserve to be in the league.
So what are you?
sorry.
What are you expecting? Like, what player do you think is going to impress you the most out of all these players?
I want to see the most progression out of. To me, the one is I want to see Denzel. because it's one of those things where eventually we're going to need you to be a starter here, guys.
Since he's going to be soon the old man on the roster.
And you are not a 19-year-old kid. You were a senior in high school. You were a senior in college when we drafted you, graduated you, whatever you want to look at it.
For me,
I can't deal with this team right now.
Well, for me, it's a zip god.
I want to ask because I'll throw out the starting lineup right now. Chris Dunn, what I would give.
Yeah.
Chris Dunn, Denzel Valentine, Zipser. God, this is a fucking mess. Zipser, Laurie at your 4.
Yep.
And then Nikola Janovic?
Look,
your center?
If Laurie can provide something, I'm obviously not a fan of the pick, but if he gives me something to go on, if he goes out there and looks like shitty Bobby Portis, like I'm just gonna be like, and that's a wrap. Like bring on Porter.
I'm just gonna ignore our summer league. I'll wait till the regular season.
I've already watched it from the summer league. I'm gonna continue to watch it regardless of how bad it hurts me.
Question: is it pathetic that Cameron Payne is not the starter in this summer league?
No.
He's your point guard of the future. He's your point guard of the future.
Your point guard of the future. That's
campaign
straight trash.
That was before we got Chris Dunn.
That was before you saw him play because campaign fucking sucks.
Chris Dunn.
Anyways, tell us
Point
what you
guard
think of your summer league team, your team, how the summer league team is looking.
How the Warriors doing? That's the one I really want to focus on.
Also, Pacers. I think won Orlando. They beat today. They beat Orlando 89-80. So I think the Pacers actually won the summer league out there. Again, tell us what you think of your summer league team out here.
Kennard impressing.
Any players that are impressing? Is it Luke Kennard? Is it Jayson Tatum? Tell us your thoughts in the comments down below. Tell us any of your thoughts about Gordon Hayward or the Kings as well. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, thank you so much for watching on YouTube. Don't forget that like button. Don't forget that subscribe button. You're helping us out. Mark's getting married. Want to throw a shout out to him. Mm-hmm. Happy marriage, buddy. We'll be there on Saturday. It should be a fun time. But for Dave Oster, Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next time.